Okay, page 170. Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefanav Eisav achiv artzo seir shnei adam. So Yaakov is heading home. The Medrash says that messengers came and said Eisav is coming towards him. So Yaakov sends messengers to Eisav, on the way, and he's anticipating trouble. Vayetzavo sam lemor, he says, Ko somrin la'adoni la'Eisav. So you shall say to my master Eisav, Ko amar avdecha Yaakov. So says your servant Yaakov, Im Lavan garti v'oichar adot. I've lived with Lavan, and I've delayed until now. 170 Shmuel. So you notice first of all how Yaakov defers to Eisav. He refers to Eisav as Adoni. He says to the servants, to the messengers, he says, "This is what you should say to my master Eisav." That means talk to Eisav and let him know that I consider him my master. So says your servant Yaakov. Right? That means that the Jewish attitude, and this Parsha, by the way, the Gemara says that when Rabbi Nasi would go to deal with the Romans, when Rabbi Nasi went to deal with the Romans, and they did a lot. You see, the Gemara talks about a lot of the Chachamim who went and had dealings with the Romans. He would study this portion of the Torah first, because this Torah teaches us how we deal with the Eisavs of the world, right? And the Romans are the Eisavs. And the first thing is that we bow our heads a little bit, right? Lower, none of this, come on, well, bring it on type of thing, because the problem with that is they might. The problem with that is when you say, hey, bring it on. It's like all the Jewish kids on the street when the car drives by, and a bunch of shkutzim in a car yell, hey, they yell something. The Jewish kids say, hey, why don't you come over here and say that? And then they do. And then you have all sorts of trouble. They're bigger, tougher. And our dealing with in Gullus, we're with the way we have to defer to the nations of the world. Don't pick your nose up as much as you feel like saying, well, listen, we got just give in. So Yaakov teaches that's the first thing. Now you'll notice he says, tell him that I live with Im Lavan Garti, and the word Garti means Taryag. The word Garti is the same exact letters as Taryag. So Rashi brings down the famous Medrash over here. If you take a look at Garti, Rashi says on the right column, 2 lines from the bottom, Rashi says, Garti b'gematria Taryag. It's not only the gematria of Taryag, it's the exact same letters as Taryag, which is the 630 mitzvahs of the Torah. Klomar, Im Lavan arosha Garti, I lived with Lavan, v'Taryag mitzvahs shamarti. I kept the 613 mitzvahs. V'lo lamadati mi'ma'asav harayba. I didn't learn from his bad deeds. He's telling Eisav, listen, I defer to you, but just realize who it is you're dealing with. And sometimes you want to send a little hint. I'm deferring to you, so that you should feel that I'm deferring to you. But within this is contained a little fact that, by the way, I haven't, my spiritual level is still there, so just watch your step. And you understand, sometimes we talk to people that if somebody threatens me, it says, pay me some money or I won't let you pass. I say, okay, let me just go over to my uncle, the head of the mafia, and get $20. Here you go. Right? So 2 things have been accomplished, right? Number 1, you'll take the $20. Number 2, you got the message. It's the last $20 you're going to try to get from me. Right? There's a very subtle message delivered there, number 1. Number 2, there's a message for us, which is Yaakov is really saying to Eisav, look, I'm initiating a peace process here. I don't want to fight. And I want to live in peace with you. But we have a red line. Our red line is Taryag mitzvahs. And that applies to us in our day and age, especially in Israel. Those of you who know anything about the society in Israel, and now there's a lot of noise because the left, which lost the election, they're a bunch of sore losers, and they're making noise about how this country is going to become a halachic country, but it isn't. There's not going to be any religious coercion and any religious this and any religious that. But in these various conflicts that we have, where there's there shouldn't be buses in Yerushalayim on Shabbos, or there shouldn't be cars in a frum neighborhood, that sort of thing, what they call the status quo of the country, which Ben Gurion himself was one of the initiators of. We have a limit to what we can. Well, you compromise and we'll compromise. But it's not our Torah to compromise. We'll compromise up until the point that we trample on the Torah. I just heard a beautiful story about somebody who's nifter. So these two guys came from more modern backgrounds, and they became yeshivish. They went off to yeshiva at a very young age, and they became very, very frum. They were the only ones in their family who were frum. And then they were sitting at like some sort of gathering, and they brought out food, and the food for sure was not glatt. The food for sure was not glatt. Now, if it's not glatt, it's mutter according to, by the letter of the law, it's permissible, right? But not only that it wasn't glatt, the whole hechsher was questionable. And one of the guys was sitting, and he had nothing on his plate. And people kept looking at they were giving him that a couple of them might have even said something like, you're holier than thou type of thing. And he looks over to see how his friend, who is really frum, is handling this. This guy's got a plate full of meatballs in front of him. And he's thinking, this guy won't even eat outside his home. This guy wouldn't eat anything outside his home. At his own children's wedding, he wouldn't eat the food of the caterer that he himself had ordered. His wife made him food at home, and he ate that food at the wedding suda. And when he went to somebody's house for Pesach, he wouldn't drink a cup of water because he did use the other people's utensils, and even a plastic cup. He had a chumrah, he doesn't use plastic on Pesach. I mean, we're talking about this is a guy who he eats air, right? And there he is. His friend looks at him. He's got a plate full of meatballs. Right? So he's like, what the heck? This guy is, all right. And he's waiting, and he's going out of his, and then they finish into the family get-together, whatever it is. He notices his friend was the first guy to get up and start cleaning off the tables. And as he's cleaning off the tables, his dish gets stuffed in with everybody else, and those meatballs get lost in the crowd. He never touched the meatballs. He never touched the meatballs. But he did it in such a way that nobody else was uncomfortable. He just put it on his plate. That's not awesome. He put it on his plate. If it would treif, he wouldn't have done that. But, so our goal is we want to maintain peace at all costs. We want to maintain a good relationship. By the way, there's balchuvas and parents as well. Sometimes there's conflict with parents. What are you doing? They're brainwashing you over there. It's a cult. It's a cult, even though some brains need washing, right? And it's a cult. It's not exactly a cult. I didn't say it's not a cult. I just said it's not exactly a cult. My name is Rainbow. Follow me. It's not exactly a cult because a cult has definitions, and in a cult there's restrictive movement. You're not allowed to leave when you don't want to. All right. Okay. Yeah, there's a physically restricted movement. There is a certain type of diet, right, where you're only a high starch diet or something. All right, by us, you do get schnitzel once a month or something. There is a high. You're certainly not encouraged to ask questions in cults. Nobody asks questions in cults. Here, everybody says, ask. Please ask. Show us you're alive. Ask as much as you want. It's not a cult. Not a cult. But, you do have conflict with your parents. But with conflict with your parents, you have to, you have to try to maintain peace at all costs. I had a guy here once who wrote a letter to his parents castigating his parents in the strongest, harshest terms for having deprived them of a Jewish background. So he showed me the letter. He asked me what I thought of the letter. I said, we're going to rip up this letter, and we're going to write another letter. And the letter you write is now going to say, Mom and Dad, I want to thank you for instilling truth in me as a value. And all I've done is taken what you've instilled me to the next level. Right? What was my idea? I wish I could take credit for it. The idea was Rabbi Tatz's idea. Right? I had heard him say this once. And the guy, what are you castigating your parents for? Your parents don't know. Your parents didn't know. What do you want from your parents? If they would have known, they probably would have done things differently. They had no way of knowing. They were raised secular. They raised you. So what do you want from your parents? What do you want from your parents? So we have we're not looking, we're not warmongers. We're looking for peace. But we have a limit. We can't compromise Torah. Torah, that's the first thing Yaakov says to Eisav. We can't compromise Torah, number one. Number two, And again, you don't have to give in on your parents. The halacha in Shulchan Aruch is, and it's not talk about Bali Tshuva, it's talk about any family. A son is allowed to leave home against his parents' wishes and go learn Torah. That's a halacha in Shulchan Aruch. A son could leave home even if his parents don't want him to. Parents want him to go to college or they want him to get a Parshas. The son's allowed to say, I'm going to learn Torah. He's allowed to leave town against his parents' wishes because that's the halacha. There you don't have to listen, but you're not allowed to be disrespectful. You're never allowed to be disrespectful, ever, to your parents, ever. So the first thing Yaakov says is, I lived with Lavan, ve'echar arata, and I've delayed until now. Then he says, Vayhili shar v'chamar tzon ve'eved v'shivcha. I have an ox and a donkey, tzon, eved, and shivcha. It's all in the singular. Va'eshach halagi la'adoni limtechen menav. I've sent to let you know, to find favor in your eyes. Now the question is, why is it in singular? What is Yaakov telling him? Why would Eisav be happy to hear that Yaakov has possessions? I'm telling you I have possessions. The question is why is it in the singular? Number one. And number two, why would Eisav be happy to hear about this? So they say tongue-in-cheek, and it's not so much tongue-in-cheek, that the Eisavs of the world always say that the Yaakovs of the world are a bunch of parasites. Right? All we do is sit and chant Tehillim and learn Torah all day, and we contribute nothing to the society. Right? Because the people in Tel Aviv who take trips around the world, they're contributing to society. But we're not contributing to society. Right? So here Yaakov says, okay, listen, I'm not that parasite. See, I work for a living. How do you like that? Now you can be proud. Now you'll be happy. Right? That's what you want. We need all the frum guys in the army. Right? That'll make you happy. Right? Just to have all the frum guys in the army. Then you'll be happy? No, you're not going to be happy then either. They told me about one guy who they got, this frum guy was a Breslover. And he was in the army for a Breslover. And these guys solicit funds, right? And there's no what do you call it? They have no respect for rank when they're soliciting money, right? You know, they go up to a lieutenant colonel, you know, they're driving everybody. You wanted them in the army, here we are. And right after you solicit funds, Ashrei Yotrei Vayishlach, you know, minion for mincha, you know, there's always another minion lurking, you know, to get them out of here, will you get them out of the army? So that's what he called. That's what he called. The first idea here is that they say tongue in cheek. Eisav will be happy to hear Yaakov's working with him. One of the ideas here is, do you ever get a phone call where a guy calls you up and says, "Hi, how you doing, Shmuel? Hi, nice. Well, how's everything? Yeah, what they got? By the way, could I borrow $20? Right. So why did he call you up? $20. You know, for the $20, right? There's nothing as annoying, or I shouldn't say nothing. There are things that are annoying, but it's annoying when somebody only comes to you in a time of need. I need something. So the first thing Yaakov sends a message to Eisav is, I'm saying to Eisav, right off the bat, I don't need anything. I'm not coming to you, and I don't want peace because I hope to get something out of you. It's not because I hope to get something out of you. You know, a guy who's got a lot of money, there was this guy in America. Who, a very wealthy man, a billionaire, and people, I think it was in Boston or somewhere, one of the places, I think by the hospital. People would go to the hospital from Israel for treatment, and they were given this address of a guy who's a very wealthy man, secular Jew, and yet you could go to his house and he'd help you out. So this frum Israeli guy goes to the guy's house. And he knocks a big door. It's a big, what do you call it? Big, humongous mansion there somewhere in Boston. And he gets through the gates and he comes in, and the butler opens the door and he says, "What do you need?" He says, "I need Mr. Goldfarb," or whatever the guy's name was. So he brings him into the office. He says, "Yeah, what do you want?" Very gruff. He says, he's very gruff. "What do you want?" He says, tell him, the guy says his son is in the hospital. He needs a surgery, and most of the cost, how much is it? He says, well, he's short about $11,000, you know. So he writes out a check and he slides it and says, here, take the money. And the guy looks at him. He says, why are you so gruff? What are you so gruff about? Why don't you're giving the charity anyway. Why don't you do it with a smile? And he gets up and he walks out. So he walks down the block, and all of a sudden he hears footsteps behind him. The butler comes running up. He says, wants to see you at home. So he walks in, and the guy says to him, you know, sit down, I want to tell you something. You know, I'm a billionaire. All my kids and their relatives, everybody's always nice to me. Nobody ever tells me anything I'm doing wrong. You know why? Because I know they're waiting for me to die so they can hear it. They want me to cut them out of the will. They're like me only because of my money. Right? You're the first guy who ever told me First guy who ever told me off. From now on I'm going to give the money with a smile. Then he gives him more money, whatever it is. I'm going to give the tzedakah with a smile. There are a lot of billionaires feel that. A lot of rich people feel that way. You only like me for my money. That's all you want to do. It's only because of my money. If not for my money, you would never talk to me. And so a guy, Yaakov sends to Eisav. He says to Eisav, listen, I don't need you. I'm not coming because I need you. I want to make peace. You're my brother. I want to make peace. And that's why Eisav should be happy, number one. Number two, the idea of the singular is a Musar lesson for us. And Parshas say, Yaakov is saying to Eisav, Esav's a money grubber, and the Midrashim talk about how he wanted money and more money. We have to be thankful even for the singular, the individual things we get in life. And sometimes you end up a person, wow, won the lottery, wow, a person's happy, wow, a person got a big raise at work, that sort of thing. A person has to be happy for everything. A person has to say, express gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu regularly for every little thing. If you're at the bus stop and the bus comes, all right, that's already a big thing, right? If you're at the bus stop in Israel and the bus comes within a certain amount of time, no, if a bus, thank you, Rebbeinu Shalom, for sending a bus. Just thank the Rebbeinu Shalom. If a woman bakes a cake and it comes out, thank you, Rebbeinu Shalom, that the cake came out good. Husband comes home and everybody is well in the house, say thank you, Rebbeinu Shalom, everybody's well today. Thank you, Rabbi, that nobody busted anything in the house, and the washing machine didn't break, and nothing overflowed. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank him regularly. Make a connection with the Ribbon Shalom. So Yaakov Avinu is saying over here. I don't have a whole lot. I have what do you call it? I have for every little thing I thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, number one, and number two, nobody needs to hear it. Nobody needs to hear us thanking Hashem. Okay? Don't be a walk around all day. Well, thank you, Hashem. Yeah. No, nobody else needs to hear me. If the bus comes and I get a ride at the bus, and you even daven, by the way, you daven. And again, I'm not a flower child. If I'm standing at a bus stop and it's cold and it's raining, I say, please, Rabbi Hashem, will you send me transportation? Yeah, it's tefillah. Say it's tefillah. Not for anybody else's sake, for our sake, that you make the connection with the Rabbi Hashem. And then when the bus comes, don't forget to say thank you. Please, Hashem, send me transportation, and all of a sudden some Avrech pulls up in a car and offers me a ride. Sorry, I was waiting for a Mercedes. Next. Hey, thank you, Rabbi Hashem. I appreciate it on a regular basis. Okay. So Yaakov Avinu says, Vayishuva malachim el Yaakov leimor banu el achicha el Eisav. We come to your brother Eisav. Vigam holech likros leRabbi Moshe. He's got 400 men. Now we've spoken about how the number 400 is always. When we see the number 400, it always represents something not good. Where else do we find 400?
Slavery.
In Mitzrayim is 400 years. The decree is 400 years. Where else do we find 400? What's that?
Is the same true with 40? Or?
40 is just, that's a connection, that's a multiple. We're on page 172, if you want to take a chumash of it. We're on page 172. It's a multiple. 40, no, it's specifically 400. Whereas you find, by Parsha Machpelah, Ephron, the no goodnik, sells it to Avram Avinu and demands 400 zuz, 400 shekels, right, for burial plot. And Eisav comes with 400 men. And the two men who bet in the Gemara, when two men make a wager if they could provoke Hillel. Remember the famous story? How much did they bet? 400 shekel, 400 zuz. That means two men, why they were doing this, I don't know, but I could certainly relate to it. Two men made a bet if one of them could provoke Hillel and get Hillel angry. Hillel was known for his humility. And part of humility is not getting angry. Anger is a byproduct of arrogance, of gaiva. We get angry because we feel insulted. We get angry because we're not in control. When you're angry because you're stuck in a traffic jam, it's like, why are these people on my highway? Right? It's all about me. Right? That's where anger comes from. And if you walk home, if you tell your brother to leave the key in the mailbox, right? Hide the key. I forgot my key. Leave the key in the mailbox. Right? Nobody thinks to look there. Then you get home and the key's not there. Right? Never happened to you, Mayor? And what is the next thing you do? You don't panic. What do? The first thing you do is you punch the door, right? First you punch the door because that's the next best thing to your brother, right? And then when your brother comes home, right, or forgot to leave the key, right, then it's not gonna be. Okay, what are you really upset about? What's the worst thing in the world to be locked out? So what? So you go out, so go somewhere, go get a cup of coffee, go to Starbucks. You go, what's the big deal? Get in your car and drive. What are you upset? You're upset that you're not in control. That's what you're upset about. I want to be in control. That's where anger comes from. That's where the anger is coming from. So, how did I get onto this? Yes. So Hillel, two guys make a bet. Could we get Hillel angry? So a guy goes Erev Shabbos, the Gemara says. On Erev Shabbos, when things are tense anyway, things are tense Erev Shabbos, especially short Shabbosim in a house with a lot of kids. Things are tense, always tense in a house. And he gets there when Hillel is taking a shower. And the showers in the old days weren't like our showers. And there's nothing, one of life's most frustrating moments is when you're taking a shower. Does it ever happen to you? You're in the middle of taking a nice hot shower. All of a sudden you hear like there's a tone that changes because somebody downstairs is using water, and all of a sudden you get a spray of freezing cold water on you. You know, you're taking the shower, and you're like, and you hear it before you feel it, right? You hear there's a change in the pitch of the water, and next thing you know, like, oh, right? And then you very pleasantly, I'm sure very pleasantly, you just say, whoever's using the water, please turn it off. What does it really sound like, right? Well, the entire family learns new vocabulary words. I didn't realize that. We got So a guy comes over to Hillel. While Hillel's taking a shower in Erev Shabbos. He says, now, Hillel's the Nasi. He's the head of the Sanhedrin. And the guy stands outside his house. He says, who around here, Mikan Hillel, Mika, who around here is called Hillel? Anyone around here called Hillel? That's like going over to the White House. Say, anybody around here named Joe? Go to the White House. Anybody around here named Joe? Right outside the White House. All right? Who's Joe? Yeah, who's Joe? Well, that's what he would ask. Right? But anybody around here named Joe? Yeah. So Hillel comes out. The guy says to him, yes. He wraps himself up in the middle of a shower. He says, Erev Shabbos. He says, yes, I have an important question to ask. He says, please ask. Why do Babylonians have round heads? That's a burning question on Erev Shabbos. And he does this to Hillel 3 times. He goes in, and again he says, Mikan Hillel, Mika. Hillel comes out. He says, why do certain nations have slanty eyes? Right? He goes in, he gives them an answer. He goes in. Why do certain nations have wide feet? These are all Erev Shabbos questions. They're burning questions that the Rav. You know, it's like the guy who calls the doctor at night, 2 a.m, doctor answers the phone. He says, yes. He says, well, my dog is coughing. What do I do? He says, well, you got to call the veterinarian. He says, well, that's why I'm calling you. Is it okay to wake him up at 2 a.m? So here he is on Erev Shabbos. With what do you call it? With asking these ridiculous questions. The commentaries explain the symbolism of it, but at the end of the day, Hillel doesn't get it. Then he says to Hillel, if you're Hillel, I hope there aren't a lot of people like you in the Jewish people. A direct frontal assault now to try to get him upset. And Hillel says, why? First the guy said to him, I have a lot of questions to ask you, but I'm worried you're going to get angry. And Hillel says, ask whatever you want. He says, well, if there are a lot of people like you, I hope there aren't a lot of people like you. He goes, why? He goes, because of you, I lost 400 zuz. So Hillel says, better you should lose 400, another 400, than that I should get angry. I personally think that one line where he said, I got a lot of questions to ask you, but I'm worried you'll get upset, I feel that's the most provocative question of all. That's the most subtle and the most provocative question. You know why? This happens in homes all the time. This happens with husbands and wives, where the wife has said to the husband, she doesn't like that he gets angry. It's the one thing women don't like, when men get angry, among other things. Right? She doesn't like it. So the husband works on not getting angry. Then one day the wife comes and says, well, I have to tell you something, but I just don't want you to get angry. That's that's worth, well, you didn't notice that I'm working on it? You didn't notice, you don't give me any credit at all? Here I'm working as hard as possible, and then you tell me. So here's Hillel after 3 times, he says, well, I'm worried you're getting angry. What, you didn't notice I haven't gotten angry? The subtlety of that one is the most aggravating of all. It's the most aggravating of all. So the number 400 always has a negative association. Eisav is coming with 400 men armed to the teeth, fighters, warriors, and they're coming to fight Yaakov over here. So what does Yaakov do? In Pasuk Ches, Vayira Yaakov me'od, Yaakov is very afraid, Vayetzer lo. He's very afraid and he is troubled. Yaakov is very afraid, and he divides the people into two camps. And the Mefarshim say, first of all, why did he feel bad? So one, the Chedushei Arim, I think it's the Chedushei Arim, he says, Vayira Yaakov me'od, Yaakov was afraid, Vayetzer lo, that's what caused him distress. It caused him distress that he's afraid of anything other than God. The fact that he's even afraid, that causes him, that gets him upset. I'm afraid, and not only am I afraid, I'm upset that I'm afraid. Why should I be afraid? I have trust in the Kodesh Baruch Hu. Why should I be afraid? Number one. Number two, he divides the people in half. So he makes them into two camps. And what is his attitude? He says in the next pasuk, "Vayomerim yovo Eisav el hamachane hachaziko v'yamachane nishor lifleita." If Eisav comes to the one camp and he destroys them, the second camp will survive. So the first idea here is, the Gemara says that number one, part of our survival, and again I told you that this is a projection of Jewish history in Golus. Part of the benefit, one of the benefits HaKadosh Baruch Hu has done is he spread us among the nations. By putting us into exile and spreading us out, one of the things that's happened is it prevents them from, we're never in one place at one time. They can't annihilate all the Jewish people. There's several accounts in the Gemara. There's several cases in the Gemara. One of the famous ones is the Gemara in Avodah Zarah on Daf Yud. There's a man named Katia Bar Shalom. And the Gemara says that there was an emperor who wanted, he calls in his wise men. He says if a person has a painful sore on his foot, a painful growth on his foot, should he leave it and suffer, or should he cut it off and be relieved? So they said he should cut it off and be relieved. He was alluding to the Jewish people. It was his fancy way of saying, should I wipe out the Jewish people or not? So the first advisor said, well, you should cut it off. You should cut it off or relieve yourself. So this man, Katia Bar Shalom, who is not Jewish, he said, well, first of all, if you do that, there are two problems. If you do that, number one, then you're going to be regarded as a deficient empire because you're going to be missing one of your nations. You can't be an empire. No emperor wants to be. If you're a ruler over 100 nations, now you're going to be a ruler over 99. That's a deficiency for you. Number two, you won't be able to do it because they're scattered all over the place. You can't get at all of them. You won't succeed. So the emperor says, you've spoken well, but we have a rule in this, because anybody who gets the better of the king in the argument, we throw him into a furnace. Yeah, it's bad though. The kings don't like looking bad. Right? Anybody who, what do you call it? Anybody who gets the best of the king, we throw him into a furnace. So he's on his way to be executed, and a Roman matronisa, she said to him, wow, it's a shame for a ship to go through and not pay the tax. Meaning you're about to die for the Jewish people, why don't you die as a Jew? So he somehow performed bris milah on himself. And he said, there, I've paid the tax, now I get to go through. And the Gemara says a heavenly voice came out and said, Katia Bar Shalom has immediate entrance into Olam Haba. He died for Jews. The Gemara in Avodah Zarah. The concept that the Jewish people are not around all over the place, there's a Gemara in Psachim, on Daf Pei Zayin. I looked it up. The Gemara says that one of the non-Jew, one of the anti-Semites said to one of the Chachamim, we're kinder than you are. Because he quotes him a pasuk from Nach, when Yoav went to war, that what they did to the people of Moab, he says, and here we let the Jewish people live. And the guy says to him, the Amor says to him, the Tana, whoever it was, he says back to him, I don't let the Jewish people live. There's no way for you to wipe us out because we're scattered all over the place. He said to him, I swear to you, he said, if you could, you would wipe us out. He said, I swear to you, we wake up in the morning with that thought, and we go to sleep with that thought. We wake up thinking, and we go to sleep thinking, how can we destroy the Jewish people? That's what's lurking in their hearts. That's what it says in the Gemara. How can we destroy the Jewish people? So the first benefit we have is that we're scattered all over the place. We're all over the place. They can never get to us. You ever heard the story about these two guys, these two Israelis? They go to one of these tropical islands, and they're watching this primitive tribe, and they have this tribal dance, one of these things, and the medicine man is in the middle doing this dance, and it's night, and they're beating the drums, and this guy's spinning around the circle, and the torches, it's big, boom, 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 and this guy's dancing around, and these two guys are standing there, these two Jewish guys, And one of them looks at the other. He says to the other one in Yiddish, "Well, if my mother could see me now." Right? And just then the medicine man danced past him and he says to him in Yiddish, "And if my mother could see me now." The Jews they're all over. We're all over the place. Where you least expecting them, where you least expecting us, that's where the Jews show up. So the idea of dividing it into two camps is the idea that the Jewish people are going to survive by being spread apart. I'll tell you something that's bone chilling. First of all, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein asked an interesting question here. If somebody is coming to kill you, are you allowed to kill him first?
Yes.
Incorrect or inaccurate. If somebody is coming to kill you, are you allowed to kill him first?
Depends.
Inaccurate. If somebody's coming to kill you, are you allowed to kill him first?
You must kill him.
Correct. There we go. Not you're allowed to kill him. You have an obligation to kill him. Somebody's coming to murder you, you have an obligation. If you know that at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning he's planning on killing you, you get up at Nate's and you kill him first. Right? Just 1 second. Right? You get up early and you kill the guy. What is that? You can't, you're allowed to. It's not an option. Not an option. If you have the opportunity to kill him, you have to kill him. So Rashi, Rashi says, what's he afraid of? Take a look at Rashi, top Rashi. He's afraid maybe he'll be killed. He's upset because he might have to kill someone else. I don't understand. If Eisav is coming and he's attacking him, so what's the problem with killing him? It's a mitzvah to kill him. It's a mitzvah to kill him. They had a terrible poster that once came out in Israel. Terrible poster. It was like a split picture of an Israeli soldier and an Arab soldier. And it's a quote from one of the Israeli secular prime ministerettes who said, "We can forgive you for killing our sons, but we can't forgive you for making us kill yours." Which is distorted. We can't forgive you at all for killing our sons, and we're more than happy to kill yours if they're rodef us. That's the halacha. We'll do what the halacha says. That's a distorted view. Right? Very, very, absolutely distorted. So, what's Yaakov upset about? If Eisav is attacking him, so you have to kill him. So why are you upset? You wouldn't be upset about shechting a korban. You wouldn't be upset about pushing a goat off a cliff on Yom Kippur. Nobody's upset about it. It's a mitzvah in the Torah. What's the problem? You upset about putting on tzitzis? What are you upset about? If it has to be done, it's done. That's why you have to spank your child. You're not be upset when you spank your child. You're upset that the child's misbehaving, but to spank him if you're doing it properly is a mitzvah. So what's he upset about?
I mean, I think that generally speaking, a Jewish soul doesn't want to be the agent of a din for another person. So that's why it's...
Very close. Very, very close. Very close. What do you say, Ezra? Very close, Mayor.
This wasn't close at all to what he said.
Ezra, what do you say? No, this Ezra.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd say that...
The real Ezra, yeah. Yeah.
But didn't want for him to lose his opportunity to do teshuvah. I guess kind of similar.
For Eisav, he doesn't want Eisav to lose his opportunity to tshuva.
Yeah.
But you're right, but if a guy isn't in the state of doing tshuva, he's coming at you with a handheld rocket launcher, right? Right now you have one mitzvah. Your mitzvah is to kill him. It could be you're right. I wish I didn't have to do this. I wish we would have done tshuva. But right now I'm not really upset about Rashi indicates he's upset about the actual killing of him. Why should he be upset? You're close. You're close also. What do you say, Ezra?
Well, I was thinking that there are certain mitzvot that we don't hope to do. For example, burying the dead, we don't hope to do. Maybe
You're close too. So Rabbi Feinstein says there are certain things that come our way which if we really merited it, we wouldn't be in this position to begin with. That means if a guy's chasing to kill you, so obviously you have to go through that fear and that difficulty, and then you have to do the mitzvah of killing him. But if I was really good, I wouldn't be in this situation at all. Whenever I got in hot water, which was, there was a lot of hot water back in the day, and often when I would get in hot water, either with my parents or with the principal or something, so one of my first thoughts would be, what would my brother do if he were in this situation? And unfortunately, the answer was always the same, which is?
my brother
That is correct. He wouldn't be in the situation to begin with. Right? He would avoid the situation, not get out of the situation. He'd just avoid the situation. He wouldn't be doing things that involve flying projectiles in class, right, or other such behavior. So, Yaakov Avinu, Reb Moshe, it's not me saying it, it's Reb Moshe Feinstein says this. Reb Moshe Feinstein says, you know where else we find this? The Jewish people, when they went into Eretz Yisrael, so they got tsaras on the homes, right? They got tsaras on the walls. Then they knocked down the walls. And what did they find? They found money. They found the treasure that the Amorites, says Rav Moshe Feinstein, if they were really on a higher level, not everybody did it that way. Those who found it that way, there was an element, better to get rich some other way. If you were at a higher level, you wouldn't be knocking down your walls to find the money. If you're on a higher level, you would have tsaras on your walls. So Yaakov Avinu says Rav Moshe, Yaakov Avinu is upset. Why am I in this situation to begin with, where if I was really merited, I wouldn't be in this situation? I got to kill him. What can I do? But better would be to not even be in the conflict to begin with. That's what Moshe says. Okay. Now take a look at Pasuk 10. So he divides them into two camps. In 1933, this is documented, by the way. In 1933, before anything, turn to the back and turn to the Haftorah. Turn to the Haftorah of Parshas Vayishlach. Is it in the back over here? Is it all the way in the back of the Chumash?
Yeah.
What page in the back? Oh, here is the Haftorahs. I got it.
1141.
1141. Okay. Okay, turn to 1142. And you'll notice that it says in Pasuk, this is the prophecy of Ovadiah, who is a Edomite convert. That means a descendant of Eisav who converts to Judaism. Ovadiah. And in take a look at Pasuk. Just find on page 1142. So we'll see in a second. In 1933, which was the last year of the life of the Chafetz Chaim, Hitler had already risen to power. And they asked the Chafetz Chaim if he is going to succeed in annihilating the Jewish people. And the Chafetz Chaim said no. And they asked the Chafetz Chaim, how do you know? So he said, because the Torah in Parshas Vayishlach says, Yaakov Avinu said, we will divide the camp into two and the remaining camp will survive. So he will never succeed, the anti-Semites will never succeed in totally destroying the Jewish people. So they asked the Chafetz Chaim, and where will the remnants be? Where will those who survive, those who are under attack and survive, where are the survivors going to be? So the Chafetz Chaim opened to the Haftorah and take a look at Pasuk 16, Pasuk 17, Pasuk Yud Zayin, 6 lines from the top. Uvehar Tzion tia pleta. The escape, the refuge will be in Har Tzion. V'haya Kodesh. V'yorshu beis Yaakov es Borshem. If you remember, know anything about World War II, the Jews in Eretz Yisrael, Rommel, the desert fox, was coming up through the Egypt and the African Corps, and the Jews in Eretz Yisrael thought this is it. They thought they're finished. And it was the Battle of El Alamein, General Montgomery, the second most famous Montgomery in history. There's General Montgomery who then put the stop, and the Jewish people survived. Behar Tzionia Fleta. Now, look at the next pasuk. V'haya beis Yaakov eish, the house of Yaakov will be a fire. Ubeis Yosef lahava, the house of Yosef will be the flame. Ubeis Eisav lekash, and the house of Eisav will be straw. What happens when kash meets flame and fire? It burns. And by the way, look at the numerical value of kash. Kuf and shin is how much, Mayor? 400. That's the house of Eisav will be 400 will burn. They'll be destroyed. V'dolku be'evacholim. That's going to be the end. It's going to be house of Yaakov and the house of Eisav. The house of Yaakov and Yosef will destroy Eisav. So Eisav, the 400, the surviving. This is a projection of what's going to happen in Israel. The people in Israel at Eretz Yisrael at the time thought that was it. They thought they're going to come in and they're going to decimate the Jews in Eretz Yisrael. That's where the Plato was. The Plato was in Eretz Yisrael. Obviously, Jews are living in other places. This was the place that was under attack. That was the Plato. And what do you call it? So the Yaakov Avinu Yaakov Avinu divides them up. Now, there's one more point we have very quickly. By the way, who was the first most famous Montgomery in history? Who? Percy Montgomery? Who is Percy Montgomery? Who's Percy Montgomery?
Charles Montgomery.
No, Mike Montgomery. Mike Montgomery was the pitcher who struck out the last guy who got the last out when the Cubs won the World Series in 2016, right? So Mike Montgomery was the pitcher. So he's the got the ground ball. He threw 2 pitches and he became the most famous Montgomery. Okay.
What's the picture?
What's a pitcher?
It's baseball. No sports, first of all.
Yeah. It's a Soviet model tank. Yeah, what do you call it? From World War II. Okay, take a look at one last point. Right at the bottom of Vayishlach. All right, you know what? We'll leave this for next time. We'll leave it for next time.